Okay, so welcome to another episode of Tidbits with Tracy. I believe this is episode 6, which we're really excited about. Super excited about today's guest because it's offering a different perspective on the industries we work in. Obviously, I'm heavily in aviation, and this gentleman is going to give us a new perspective in facility management and other industries specifically. So, John, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, John Hadjuk. I work for Sodexo, and Sodexo has two main service offerings. The one is food, which many of you may be familiar with, but the other is integrated facilities management. So what I do for Sodexo is help lead the account in North America for Procter& and Gamble. With Procter& and Gamble, we provide fully integrated facility management at around 20 of their different locations. That's everything from security to janitorial, HVAC maintenance, landscaping, food, obviously, as well as some other services such as logistics, storeroom, and a few other smaller items.
I love it. So I may or may not have stalked you on LinkedIn. Um, you have a very impressive resume and impressive background. So did you always know you wanted to go into facility management and operations? How did you break into this world?
Yeah, great question. I've been in or around facilities for the better part of 23 years now. Started my career in heavy manufacturing, worked in the paper industry, worked in the metals industry, and also then worked for Westinghouse Electric, who at the time, was more of a conglomerate than they are today, but always have been around engineering, maintenance for production equipment, and what always fell into that same box was facilities. And at some point in time, while working for Westinghouse, I made the decision to fully make the shift away from the manufacturing maintenance into facilities management. There was really where I cut my teeth on managing a portfolio of facilities, everything from corporate office buildings to service centers to manufacturing plants. And that's where I am still today in facilities management.
I love it. I love it. I now have a huge soft spot. My heart for facilities management, I'm learning the ins and outs of it. Obviously, aviation is facility management's a little bit different than the manufacturing world, and it has been so much fun learning from your expertise as we've started to work together more and more. So tell us about the biggest challenges that you see in operations and facilities management right now. I know the world has changed quite a bit. What are you guys experiencing?
Sure. As with most service industries, labor. Particularly some of the, I'll say, entry-level positions. The skilled positions, not as much of a struggle, but our entry-level positions, particularly janitorial, we're really having a hard time with the market right now. Having a hard time to figure out what the market rate is, and having a hard time even after we hit that market rate retaining staff.
Yeah, I hear that in every world that we're working in right now. It's labor shortage, labor shortage, labor shortage. And, we see it as well, and we see it with our clients. So without giving away Sodexo's tips and tricks and, secret sauce to retain your work, what do you see just personally? How do you retain your front line? How do you empower people to stay and to come work for you guys?
Yeah, sure. I think the biggest thing is it's really simple, but you got to treat people the way you would want to be treated. Everybody goes to work and wants to do a good job, and I think everybody wants opportunity. So what we try to do, and what I try to do specifically on my accounts, is offer them a career path, offer them a good work environment, and the other part of it is we try to introduce the latest and greatest with technology into their jobs. And some of the entry level positions truly aren't that sexy, particularly janitorial. So I found that our frontline employees are really, really interested whenever they get to utilize technology, equipment, analytics, what have you, and doing a job that historically was looked at as being very, very manual and somewhat boring, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that's a new way to really, introduce younger generations into this world of facility management, right? Is when you introduce technology, there could be a peak of interest of, yeah, I will go into the janitorial world or the facility management world because it is up to date now and it's kind of moving into that 21st century versus paper based.
Yep, absolutely.
So, from facility management perspective, things have changed quite a bit pre-COVID, middle of COVID, and I don't even know if we can say we're post-COVID now, being politically correct. But the industry's changed. So, what would you say is the biggest difference from where you started 23 years ago to where the industry is now?
Boy, that is a good question. So I think that things were relatively static before COVID, but I think now as we come out of COVID or we're out of COVID, depending where you are in the country and world,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of change on whether it's corporate office space, whether it's commercial office space or manufacturing on how clients, consumers view brick and mortar.
Yeah.
I see a lot of shift now to where through COVID you had for professionals, a lot of folks teleworking. And now that things are starting to get back to normal, some of those individuals have come back, some of them have not. However, even in facilities where a portion or most of those individuals came back, there's different expectations now on what employees expect in the workplace, which changes how we deliver our services. So a lot more focus for the first time in a while on amenities and really starting to look at facilities as a strategic advantage for retention of employees as much as anything. And that was a change. Through probably 10 to 5 years ago, most of the focus was on reducing costs. Through COVID, that was a bit of an odd period. But as we come out of it now, I see a lot more amenities and higher level services that clients want to offer to their employees that are using the facilities. And I truthfully believe that's an intentional move by them to try to use that as a way to retain their employees, if you will. Yep.
No, absolutely. It's a huge shift and a huge shift in perspectives and thinking, and every organization has to evolve or they're going to get left behind, I think. And you guys have done an incredible job at doing that evolution into this new change. What would you say are some of the positives that have outcome? That obviously there's a change of perspective, but do you think there's any real positive, outcomes of this change of labor, change of perspective, whether it's innovation or just a new, excitement into facility management? What would you say?
Yeah, so I think prior to COVID, we would push and use technology, but not really fully embrace it.
Yeah.
And the same thing with amenities. Now I think that it's real. We mean it. We're not just doing it to check a box, and clients aren't asking for it to check a box and to be balanced. It's really a shift on how services are being rendered. So I think it's a permanent shift, and it's one that's here to stay. Everything from how food services are ordered and delivered, making everything, if you will, touchless, more seamless. It's kind of interesting. Some of the technologies that were around prior to COVID, and I'll speak to food, but I can go into other services as well. I think we're all familiar with Grubhub, with Uber Eats. A lot of that now is being really adopted into a normal corporate environment and how food is ordered and consumed, not just remotely. So that's interesting and similar to other services as well. Janitorial, we're doing a lot more of that work on demand and trying to use again technology a bit more, not just to be more efficient, but to offer a higher level service.
I love it. I love it. And that's the story that we keep hearing is that it's no longer just thinking about labor efficiency, but it is increasing your service, providing an excellent service, and providing one that's better than everyone else in the market. And you guys have done an incredible job. So one last question for you, because we are obviously wanting more people to join the facility management world, to join the tech world, to join, the Sodexo world.
Yeah.
What would you give, one piece of advice to anybody who is interested in joining IFM or joining, the world that you work in?
Sure. So we've talked for years in industry that at some point in time we would have a labor gap at different levels, particularly the managerial level. That day's today.
Yeah.
I think that now the industry has shifted as we talked for the last 5-10 minutes, right? Where it is now, I would say, an industry that is innovative. It's an industry that's adopting modern technology, the Internet of Things, analytics, you name it. And it's an industry that is somewhat new in the grand scheme of things, if you think about it, right? Facilities has been around for a while, but facilities management as a profession really just started to gain traction in the last 15, 20 years. So you have the technology coming in, you have this new profession, right, that's really starting to grow feet, and then you have the opportunity where we have this labor gap, if you will, because of retirements, what have you. So I think it's a tremendous opportunity for somebody to get into this industry and really write their own narrative, write their own story. There's a ton of positions that are available right now, not just with our organization, but as well others. And the reason for that is what I just mentioned. So I think it's a great opportunity for somebody that wants to excel, wants to deliver a service that's needed and will be here for the foreseeable future.
Absolutely. The future is very, very bright for our industry. It's incredibly bright. Well, John, I have to thank you so much. I know you are a very busy man. You've got massive accounts across the nation to manage, so I won't keep you long. But I just wanted to thank you so much for offering your wisdom in the industry and all of the fun lessons that we could learn today. So I thank you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
No problem. Appreciate taking the time and appreciate the support of Trax and yourself as we continue to forge ahead and implement these different technologies. So thank you and have a good day. We'll see you.
Thank you, John. Take care.